In the summer of 2016, I bought my first DSLR camera, a used Canon T2i. I ordered the camera off eBay with a kit lens and 3 Canon first-party batteries. I had spent the 3 months leading up to that purchase learning everything I could about content creation, reading up on all the different camera brands, trying to decide which one was best for the type of video creation I was looking to get into. Specs were not my biggest concern. Instead, I was looking for a camera that captured footage that resonated with me. A lot of higher spec cameras captured video that just looked artificial to my eyes. I eventually decided on the T2i because of its sturdy build quality, beautiful color and skin tone reproduction, and ultimately price. The camera wasn't perfect, but proved to be a solid performer and was used to record all the Erickson Films videos until the end of last year. The T2i was released at a time when Canon ruled the camera world, and at least in terms of video, no one could compete. The market for video-capable small form factor cameras is more crowded than ever, and nothing like it was when the T2i hit the market nearly a decade ago. With so many brands competing to make the best hybrid shooter, it can be difficult to find the right option for your use case. In April of 2017, Canon released the 77D, a lower mid-range DSLR that aimed to provide most of the professional features of the 80D at a Rebel series price. We've been using this camera for a little while now and have gotten a sense of what this camera is made for. With so many competitors pushing the envelope in terms of specs and features, can Canon still compete the way it used to? The camera is small, nearly as small as the T2i. It's considerably lighter than the 80D, a huge plus for gimbal shooters. It uses the same LPE17 battery system found on the Canon T6i and T6s, which means you'll be getting considerably shorter battery life than any of Canon's more professional cameras like the 80D. This wasn't a huge issue during my use, but nevertheless annoying. As far as I/O, Canon decided not to include a headphone jack, something to keep in mind if you're planning to record audio in camera. ISO control increases in increments of 100, compared to the more precise increments of higher-end Canon cameras. This can be somewhat of a nuisance when trying to get precise exposure. Easily the best part of the design is the 77D's fully rotating flip-out touchscreen. While flip-out screens have been a staple of Canon DSLRs for years now, it's the kind of thing I can really appreciate now that so many other manufacturers do not include these. I'm sure you've already heard a million times how much better a flip-out screen can make your life as a content creator, so I won't go on about it here. In short, if you create videos by yourself, vlog, or like filming low to the ground, the inclusion of a flip-out screen will make everything so much easier. While the 77D lacks some features compared to higher-end Canon cameras, what it does manage to include is impressive considering its price point. The footage coming out of the camera is nothing short of beautiful, with a pleasing rendition of skin tones and just colors in general. Footage from the camera is not necessarily the most accurate as far as color, but manages to just look nicer to most people. What this means is you won't need to spend a lot of time in post manipulating color. In my opinion, if you turn sharpening all the way down in camera and adjust saturation and contrast to your liking, you will have footage coming right off the camera that simply looks great. Color science is subjective to a point, and while brands like Sony may offer color reproduction that is technically more accurate, that doesn't mean it's more pleasing to the eye. If you couldn't tell, I'm a huge fan of the Canon look, this being the main reason I've never switched to another brand, despite many of them offering better specs on paper. The footage taken on the 77D resonates with me the same way as the footage from my original T2i did. The 77D features a digital image stabilization in video that crops in on the image. I was pleasantly surprised to find that this stabilization actually works quite well. I tested it with a 50mm f1.8, a lens that generally creates horrible micro jitters when used handheld because of its long focal length and lack of stabilization. While the footage certainly doesn't look like it came off a gimbal, it's definitely usable with a little practice, and would likely look much smoother with a wider lens. Canon's dual-pixel autofocus, like the flip-out screen, is as great as ever. We shoot primarily on a gimbal or handheld and never use manual focus. It has no problems tracking moving subjects. and tap to focus allows for cinematic rack focus shots that look like they were done by a focus puller. Canon's autofocus is still the best in my experience, though Sony is catching up, and this is honestly one of the main reasons to get this camera. This combined with a flip-out screen and lightweight make this camera ideal for vlogging. The 77D records in the IPB compression MP4 format at 60 megabits per second in 1080p. I'm surprised that Canon would force you to use a more compressed format like this. YouTube heavily compresses 1080p footage at the end of the day, but I still would have preferred to be able to record in the all-I compression format found on cameras like the 80D, which offers a superior bitrate of 90 megabits per second in 1080p. I am disappointed that Canon would do this, as the camera will ultimately capture less detail in video than any of the higher-end cameras. The camera shoots 1080p, not 4K, another reason I found the lack of all-I compression obnoxious. I really believe that if Canon chose to offer 4K with dual-pixel autofocus in their lower-end cameras, they would dominate the market. The main reason people have fled to other brands is because of Canon's decision to lock most of their higher-end video features to their cinema line. Many people simply prefer the look of Canon's footage, and if they offered 4K with dual-pixel autofocus in their lower-end cameras, I believe a lot of people would switch back, but I digress. Since most YouTube videos are in 1080p, and the compression algorithm is pretty aggressive, this is somewhat forgivable in a $700 camera when you consider the whole package. So the Canon 77D, my final thoughts are, if you're a vlogger, it's probably a great option. It's light, it's portable, it's easy to use. If you're starting a YouTube channel, you're gonna get great color, easy autofocus, and ultimately a system, a menu system that's not hard to understand as a beginner. Everything about this camera is accessible. It's cheap, it works well, and I think the image coming off it looks pretty nice. I'm definitely happy with the stuff that we captured for this review, and as someone who usually shoots on a Canon T2i as my main camera, there was a lot of things about this camera that really were nice to have. This amazing autofocus, the better ISO sensitivity. However, if you're someone who's coming from one of Canon's professional series cameras, you're probably going to be disappointed. You're going to get less of this ISO control, not a lot of those same professional features you might expect. However, if you're in the sort of use case that I described earlier, if you're starting a new YouTube channel, if you're a vlogger, if you're someone who just wants a camera that works, that doesn't cost that much money, at $699, I think this thing is hard to argue with. Yes, it only shoots 1080p. Yes, it's a DSLR, not a mirrorless. But ultimately, I think it works well. I think that Canon still knows how to make a really good DSLR. And now that this camera is about 2 years old, I think it's still really a good option for the kind of thing I described. Will I be picking one up? No. But that's simply because the videos we do are already being shot on an 80D, and that would just be redundant to have such a similar camera. But yes, I recommend this camera. I think it does a lot of things really well, and ultimately it's hard to compete with at its price point. If you're interested in buying the camera, go down to our Amazon affiliate link in the description, or eBay affiliate, whatever you prefer. If you use one of those links, you're going to support the work we're doing here at no extra cost to you. I want to say a big thank you to Anson Tan, the talented videographer who filmed this video, and just say thank you to all of you guys for supporting this channel and helping us grow in this new year as we've been putting a lot more effort into these videos. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and subscribe for more. And stay tuned to Erickson Films. It's Christian from Erickson Films. Until next time, peace out.